Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Today we want to talk about security, more particularly the role of the Jamaica Defence Force Coast Guard in our security. We have with us the commander of the Jamaica Defence Force Coast Guard, Antonette Wemyss Gorman. We thank you for your company. Good to have you on the program. Thanks for taking time out to be with us. I think we should start first by talking about the role of the Coast Guard. I'm sure that there are functions of the Coast Guard that many of us are not aware of. Tell us about them.
Indeed, thank you for having me. The JDF Coast Guard, as some persons may know, is a unit of the Jamaica Defence Force. And we have a number of roles. Primarily, we are responsible for maritime law enforcement, maritime safety, which includes search and rescue, and that supports a lot of our fisher folk who operate off the coast of Jamaica. And it's also under some international obligations that the country must be able to provide search and rescue for shipping, commercial shipping, cruise shipping, and the like. We also have a role in national disaster relief, both locally, and we also support that regionally as is required. And we do support the infantry in their roles in internal security and other national security matters.
What sort of liaison do you have with international Coast Guard groups, with those working in international maritime security? How do you keep abreast with best practices?
Well, the Jamaica Defence Force generally, not just the Coast Guard, we do keep abreast by training with our international partners. We access some of the best training available in our field, wherever it is available. So we're able to keep abreast of trends. We assess our threats, and we train towards mitigating those threats.
The Prime Minister has spoken a lot recently about the two boats which have been acquired and the role that these boats will play in our national security. I want you to just explain to us what the significance of these boats, how they will really strengthen national security.
Certainly. Well, some persons may not be aware that the maritime space that is considered part of Jamaica's territorial space is actually about 25 times the size of the land space, the land area. And so the Coast Guard has responsibility for this space, to protect the space, to intercept whatever comes into space, and we really are the only agency of government that is able to respond to anything that occurs in that space, whether positive or negative. So as it relates to law enforcement, we have to respond to interdiction, whether it is narcotics, weapons, human trafficking, when it comes to protecting our fisheries. And Jamaica has an extensive and one of the most rich resource or fishing banks in the Western Hemisphere, where it relates to spiny lobster and conch. And that is a significant economic asset to the country. So we do have threats from poachers from other neighboring countries. And so we have that responsibility as well to support the Ministry of Agriculture and to support the fishers in deterring and interdicting poachers in that space. So the use of these vessels are very wide and varied and impacts not only our national security, but it also our economic security. For example, we have how many million tourists that call at our ports, and they come by cruise ships. We have international ratings on our airports. We have aircraft that have to cross the water to get to our airports. We've had incidents of actually aircraft incidents. Most recently, if those incidents occur in the water, then we have to be able to respond. And so these are all the various roles that these vessels are employed in. There's the whole matter of transnational organized crime. And so a lot of what you see occurring on land is emanating or is intertwined and interlinked to what occurs in our maritime space, because Jamaica has no company or manufacturer that I know of that makes weapons that is the main perpetrator of crimes on our mainland. And so these weapons come into the country via our ports, whether airports, seaports, documented or undocumented. And so our ability to know what is in our space and to intercept whatever is coming through our space and interrogate it is of paramount importance to national security.
And I want you to relate the work of the two vessels now with the surveillance plane that we are supposed to be getting, so we understand exactly what difference this can make in our national security infrastructure.
Yes, in our line of work, we call it maritime domain awareness. So this allows us to be aware of what is in our maritime space. And maritime domain awareness has various layers. So the vessels provide the ability to intercept on the surface, yes. But a vessel's vision or our vision is limited to the horizon and to the equipment that is on board the vessel. What an aircraft brings to that is additional range and view, the ability to see further out and to pass the information earlier so that the interception can occur more timely and give us a higher probability of actually intercepting particularly smaller contacts that may be missed by a surface radar or just by someone looking out from a vessel. So an aircraft, a surveillance aircraft, brings with it technology that allows you to gather information in the space more accurately and earlier, and then allow us to be able to use the different levels of interception capability that we have to do a better job at combating the threats that we're facing.
So the two vessels and the surveillance aircraft should make a significant difference to our security profile in Jamaica.
Yes.
We're speaking to Commander Antonette Gorman of the Jamaica Defence Force Coast Guard. We're focusing on the area of security because the Coast Guard plays such a critical role in our security. We have more when we come back from this break.
Jamaicans from all walks of life. We must save energy and help the Jamaican economy. Energy saving, we say. To that. Hey. Ease up on the energy, up on the energy. Save today, protect tomorrow. Ease up on the energy, up on the energy. Save today, protect tomorrow. Energy saving is not a maybe, it's a must.
Welcome back. We're speaking to the commander of the Jamaica Defence Force Coast Guard, Antonette Gorman. The trafficking of guns into Jamaica is one of those vexed areas, Commander. Would you say that the fact that we have so many guns, and as you have said, we don't manufacture any, speaks to the inadequacy or the failure of the Coast Guard?
I wouldn't say it's a failure of the Coast Guard. It is a gap that we are now seeking to address with the acquisitions. If you look at the Jamaican coastline, there are so many. I think there's a figure of about over 300 coves and inlets that persons can use to access the shoreline with small vessels. And so maritime domain awareness is no one fix. There's no one, a boat or an aircraft or a type of vessel or various stations around the coast will not all fix them by themselves. So it has to be a layered approach and interconnection. There also has to be a robust intelligence network that supports the kind of interdiction to have more successes. And in the history of the Coast Guard, there have been times when we were able to be much more successful with the introduction of small vessels because of support from aircraft that did not belong to, that came to us from other partners when we were working together. So I wouldn't say it is a failure of the Coast Guard, but I do say there are gaps in our, some of our security apparatus that I think that we're seeking to address.
And as we were saying before the break, the acquisition of the two vessels, which you already have, plus the surveillance aircraft, which is coming, would in fact make a major dent in this deficit, in this gap.
Yes.
That is coming. What have been the other general strategies that we can talk about that the Coast Guard has implemented in the last couple of years to deal with the matter of strengthening Jamaica's security?
Well, certainly the Strategic Defense Review of the Jamaica Defense Force saw that the Coast Guard needed to grow, and so that is a strategy that we are actively pursuing, and we have established outstations around the island and at Pedro Keys to allow us to be able to respond to certain areas more rapidly. We've increased also not just the fleet of the larger vessels, but we've incrementally over the years increased the fleet of the smaller vessels that do the interception. And so those are some of the things. We also try to interact with the organized fishing associations, do training and interaction with them so that we know people on the ground that are able to provide us with assistance when we are conducting our various duties, whether it be search and rescue or interdiction roles.
Yeah. Commander, that leads me to the issue of your interaction and liaison with the community. How much do you have that connection with the community so that you can get intelligence, so that they can cooperate with you, give you information, tip you off and so on? How is that?
The intelligence gathering part of the JDF is a different unit, not necessarily the Coast Guard, but there are interactions of those kinds where they can assist us. We do leverage that. Yeah.
But you do see the need for the Coast Guard itself to have a kind of a presence and a profile, you know.
Certainly.
On its own.
We conduct regular workshops and training with the various groups that are willing to do so, so that we can have that connection.
So you do have that, yeah. Where do you see the Coast Guard going in the future? The role of the Coast Guard in the 21st century Jamaica, and you know, where is its trajectory?
Well, the role of the Coast Guard can expand to look at matters. For example, the advent or the plans of the government to establish a logistics hub, which is largely maritime, which increases the amount of commercial shipping. That see increasing in our roles in things such as vessel traffic management, more likelihood or incidence of pollution, marine pollution prevention and response is one of our roles as well. If the economic exploitation of our vast maritime space is expanded or is fruitful, research and development and more protection of the what we call the exclusive economic zone, those are things that would build out from the traditional or current roles of the Coast Guard.
So exciting! It could be an exciting career. You'd encourage people to pursue a career in the. And you can testify it's been fulfilling for you?
Yes.
Good to have had you, Commander Antonette Wemyss Gorman of the Jamaica Defense Force Coast Guard, telling us about the important roles that the Coast Guard plays in Jamaica. I mean, security, but also other issues, and the importance of the acquisition of the two recent vessels and the impending acquisition of the surveillance aircraft, which will increase the capacity of the Coast Guard to do its intelligence work and interception. We thank you for your company on Issues and Answers. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a pleasant day.